Hey, this is Marc Doty. I'm here at Buchla, and we're at Synthplex in LA. And yeah, I had been talking to Jim about the possibility of like shooting just some sort of patching video because people are interested in how Buchla patching works. And thus far, no one's ever seen me patch a Buchla, despite the fact that I've been testing modules for the entire year. Anyway, so let's create a Buchla patch. I don't have anything set up, so we'll just meddle through, and I'll try and give you an idea of some interesting things as we go. So we're going to start with a 259 because the 259 is actually my favorite, which might be surprising because it's the digital oscillator. The 261 is more analog based, but the 259 is really digital. It has wavetables in it. You have two different wavetables you can choose at the same time for the principal oscillator, which makes for some really cool morphing possibilities. But the thing that always really excites me is the fact that up here in the memory bank region of the oscillator will, instead of reading wavetables, will read the memory buffer, and who knows what's in there at any given time. It's always different, so you can get some really weird, sort of mysterious sounds from it. So I'm going to try and find those. Come with me on a journey to discover some weird sounds. Okay, so right now, we just have a pretty straightforward sine wave. So I'm going to move the wavetable sections up into the memory bank. So already you can hear some weird staticky stuff. There are wide areas of silence, but sometimes you can find something interesting in there. I'm going to move up to C, where there's always something beautiful. So there's some interesting timbres there, and it would be cool if we could use some audio to sort of move through the wavetable, or through the memory buffer acting as wavetable. So I'm going to take the output from this 261, the modulation oscillator, and put it into the FM in. So right off the bat, we've got a really cool and interesting sort of sound going on that we can use. We can also move over, and do the same thing with the other wavetable. Okay, so then, we've got an interesting timbre here. So what we should do then is let's put it into, we only have a 292H here. It would have been better if we had a 292E so we could have more low pass gates, but we only have this one. So then I'm going to patch the output of that to the mixer. But we're going to need something to activate the VCA and the filter. So I'm going to take an output from our 281E and patch that in. So now what we have is a looping envelope coming from the 281E that's controlling our sound, which is cool. And if we want to do the same thing with the 261, so we have two oscillators going, that would be a cool thing. Go into the B input. Is this going to reach? Yes. All right. Next, we will, if I can find the patch cable, we'll take the output, the looping output from the B envelope on the 281E. We could do something interesting. I'm going to apply some modulation. Right now, out of the OR section of the 281E, I have the combination of the first two envelopes being mixed together and coming out and modulating the wave shape of the modulation oscillator on the 261. And now we're using it as a modulation to the principal oscillator on the 261 to make this relatively, I'll say interesting, maybe annoying. It depends on your taste, I suppose. But yeah, we have the 281E generating the looping envelopes for the 292H. And right now they're both set to filter. We could switch them to VCA if we wanted to. Actually, B sounds better as a VCA, and I'm going to switch it to both filter and VCA on A. So we have that sound going. You know what might make this a little bit cooler is if we had some frequency variation. So I'm going to run over here to our friend the 252E and get some CV outputs going. So I'm connecting to the first channel of the CV outputs, and I'm connecting that to the CV in on the 259E. So I'm going to have to program in some CV content so we can get some variation in pitch. So let's get somewhere. I'm going to go to the outer ring, which is 16 steps. And just start adding some voltages. So let's hear how that sounds. I'm not taking the pulse output from the 252E, so the envelope is creating amplitude iterations due to its looping, not from the output from the 252E, which is it's an interesting way to get variations. And we could do the same thing with the other oscillator. This time I'm taking the CV output from 2 and I'm putting it into the CV input on the 261E. So let's choose a different track for 2. Let's see, what are we on? The light's too bright for me to read. Let's go down to 9. And I'll start doing the same thing, but for the 2 CV output. So it's going to be the green one. And I'm choosing frequencies at random because that's what 20th century music's all about. So we now have the 252E providing variation in CV, which we have patched to the pitch of the 2 oscillators, resulting in this sound that we're hearing. Now, if we wanted to get more complex, we could start using the pulse outputs from the 252E to control the 292H, so we could get iterations that were consistent with the actual movement of the 252E. And certainly we could do any number of millions of things beyond this, but at least you get kind of a sense of a very basic sort of undulating, interesting, timbrely Buchla patch. So yeah, thank you for watching.